The whole concept of human flight is nothing strange, right? Human being able to fly on planes is nothing absurd. Practically all of you in here have been on a plane before. So the concept of a human being getting on a man-made craft and flying from one place to the other is not spooky. All right? So again, we want to demystify this whole subject now. We're not taking you out of space, brothers and sisters. But in 1975, NASA scientists have took what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said and used it as their primary theory of how the moon was formed. It is obvious that the intelligence that taught Elijah Muhammad was and is an intelligence far superior to anything in this world. Since this is true, and it is, then what about this teaching that Elijah Muhammad taught us about these this mother plane and these wheels, these crafts that are now, decades later, being referred to as UFOs?
So what's your conclusion?
Probably, I'll call it a mothership.
A mothership?
Well, a space carrier, does that sound better? You know, we have aircraft carriers which are huge and little small airplanes on it. We have a number of reports of huge craft, big monsters, half a mile to a mile, that move silently and slowly and then fast.
But you'll notice how they always deliberately leave him and the Nation of Islam out of their ufological studies, out of their ufological research. Now, obviously, the American government knows about these crafts, witnesses on a regular basis. The government knows about it. The question is, why don't you? This is a very well-known historical event. But before this whole spaceship phenomenon hit major public concerns, the mothership that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talked about and some of these baby planes were already witnessed by the government's military as early as 1942. Y'all gonna research this? All right. The sighting rendered perhaps the first known direct confrontation with the U.S. military and these planes.
February 25th marks an anniversary that few remember and some refuse to forget. In 1942, an unidentified object was seen hovering over the California coast. The military, poised to defend the coast from a foreign invasion, took aim and fired. The event, called the Battle of Los Angeles, made headlines. What was in the sky and where did it go?
But the unique thing about it is the military, the Army, started firing at this thing for about an hour, hour and a half, but they could not bring the object down.
Within 24 hours, the Department of War sent a memo to the President detailing the incident as possibly unidentified airplanes flying at various speeds and declaring the investigation ongoing. But that came to an abrupt end when the Army declared the flying object a weather balloon, sparking theories of a government cover-up.
President Roosevelt knew something. He knew that there was a man in America talking about these things. A man that they thought or tried to make seem was super crazy. So just 3 months after the Battle of Los Angeles, less than 3 months, President Roosevelt ordered the arrest of Elijah Muhammad. Elijah Muhammad was the only one talking about these craft, this wheel. And since everything he taught added directly up to what they encountered over Los Angeles, President Roosevelt, by executive order, ordered the arrest of a U.S. citizen, Elijah Muhammad. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad talks about that arrest. He states, the white man admitted to me that they've seen it, they just can't get to her. So you know that had them pissed off when Elijah Muhammad, this little black man, telling them, yeah, it's right there. I know the power on it. You ain't do nothing to it. So Allah has always or often shown his strength and his power to the powers that be, to his enemies, just to let you know, look, this is what you're dealing with.
Oh, yes, we discussed it at every conference that we had in the military. There's always things like that going on. Flying saucers and all that other things, you know, about nothing.
Yeah, he said we discuss it at these conferences and stuff. You know, these flying saucers and what have you. Because that was a very, very famous incident. Write it down. The 1952 Washington, D.C. UFO incident.
Well, a UFO is an unidentified flying object. And when I was back as a peanut farmer and the head of a Lions Clubs in the southwest Georgia, I and about 25 others saw something in the air that changed colors and was round and came and left. We couldn't figure out what it was. It was unidentified as far as we were concerned.
Why all these presidents and high-ranking officials seeing these powers? Don't you know Ronald Reagan, the great communicator? While he was governor of California, he witnessed these crafts. And he said, and I quote, "We followed it for several minutes. It was a bright white light. We followed it to Bakersfield, and all of a sudden, to our utter amazement, it went straight up into the heavens." That's what he said to a reporter who was working, I think, for Newsweek at the time. But you know, Reagan had been fascinated with UFOs ever since. That was when he was governor. He took his fascinations and his concerns all the way to office with him when he became governor.
Suddenly there was a threat to this world from some other species, from another planet, outside in the universe.
For those of us who grew up in the 80s, you may remember Reagan with this thing called Star Wars. That's what Star Wars was all about. Now, I was a young boy in the 80s now. I was in elementary school, but I remember always hearing about Star Wars on television. You know? What was this? He wasn't talking about the movie. He was talking about trying to defend and even possibly go to war with these crafts that he could not explain. But look, Reagan's witness account of the UFO worried him so much that he started, while in office, and those who grew up in the 80s may remember this, he started to rely heavily on astrology in making his decisions, to the point where he literally hired his astrologist, this lady named Joan Quigley, to basically manage and run a lot of his office affairs. He did not know what the hell was going on. Hell, he needed explanations. What's going on? You see, but that's already written in the scriptures. You all remember Herod?
Go ahead, brother.
Herod called on his astrologers.
Go ahead.
He even called on some of his soothsayers because he wanted to find out what does this mean with these stars going on over here?
Go ahead.
Huh? Something was going on while Herod was in office, and he needed something to be explained.
Go ahead.
So he started to get so worried, and he got so manipulative that he, just like Herod in the scriptures, show me where this child is so that I can worship him.
Go ahead.
But Herod had another ulterior motive in mind. Because while Reagan was on the scene in the 80s as president, there was another man who was talking about these UFOs. There was another man who is a top student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the man who really started it all. There was another man in Reagan's midst who in 1985 had an experience and went public with it while Reagan was in office. So Reagan knew that there was a power, a real alien threat in his midst. Most of the time when the Bible uses the word chariot, it comes from the Hebrew word rakab. Can I hear y'all say rakab? Rakab, for the most part, means a chariot or wheels, but it also refers to a millstone. Do you know what a millstone is? A millstone, like that old millstone in that picture, is a round circular object used in mills. A stone carved like a wheel. So when you read about these chariots in the Bible, it's talking about some wheels. We're not going to deal with just the Bible. See, you'll hear the Muslims say stuff like, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. Because you don't hear nowhere in the Islamic world where they talk about anything like a UFO or any type of plane. And you certainly don't hear anything in the Islamic world where they talk about any physical presence of God. So there are some things that have baffled the Muslim world. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, with this 4th grade education, and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan as his top student, have challenged the world of religion. We have challenged the world of science. Hold up, but you got a whole world that want to say, look, this man, he's crazy. Now, why don't the media, as much as the media hates Minister Farrakhan, why don't they just keep pulling up this stuff about UFOs? If they wanted him to look crazy, couldn't they say, oh, look, Minister Farrakhan, you believe in these UFOs and spaceships and all this kind of stuff? Surely you can't have all these people following you and believing you're a man of God. But see, you know why they won't do that? Because 56 million people have seen these things. And 136 billion people believe in these things in America. So if they say Minister Farrakhan believes in UFOs, then you have 136 million people in America that will say, my goodness, Farrakhan, you too? Teach me about these. So do you see why it's important to keep this information from leaking out? Because if it's known to everybody that these things exist, then they would have to know that his God is God. No? They would have to bear witness that the God of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the true and living God. Because if Elijah Muhammad is right about these UFOs and he's the first one to tell about it, then the whole world would have to admit that Master Farad Muhammad is God.